Hey guys, it's Y33 Ambassador off Instagram, and today's video will be replacing the alternator for my Cima with the VQ30DET. This alternator is from a Nissan 2004 model Nissan Z 350Z, but you can use an Infinity G35 and FX35 and certain models of a Pathfinder Nissan as well. So this is going to be a quite comprehensive guide because you have to remove a lot of items to get access to the actual alternator. First, you need to take off the air ram, this cover, the engine cover, that strut bar we have to take off because we can't take the cover off without the strut bar in the way. And we have to gain access to the alternator. The alternator is all the way down there. Let me just zoom in there. It's right there. You can see the fins on it. So first we're gonna have to jack up the car. So jack up the car, get it put on jack stands, and then we can start getting stuff removed. So once you have your car jacked up, you'll need to remove the under engine splash guard. It looks like that. Basically, you just got to keep pulling out 10mm bolts. We go there, and in the back there, and there's this one here, and there's those three as well, or four. So the reason why you need to get that off is because the alternator is next to the oil filter, and that's the alternator there. You need to gain access to that bolt there because that's one of the mounting bolts. So there's a reason why you want to jack it up first. Makes the job easier. Plus, if you're tall like me, working in the engine bay, it's a lot easier when the car's raised as well. Okay, so the next step is making room in the engine bay. So we've got this strut bar and we've got this engine cover. So you're going to need a 17mm socket to remove the bolts on both ends. And there's 6 10mm bolts on the engine cover. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And let me just remove that quickly. All right, now that's removed, we're gonna have to remove these two 10mm bolts so we can gain access to that fan. So let's just remove that quickly. Right, so now that the air duct is removed, now we can work on removing the fan. So you can see the fan there. And let me just zoom in there. There's gonna be 4 bolts. So it's 1, 2, 3, and there's another one on the other side. So let's just remove that quickly. Also guys, just a handy tip halfway through the video, it's always good to always label your bolts that you remove. I like to use snap lock bags and just make a quick label. So this is fan bolts and there's 4 of them. So I know when I put everything back together, that's gonna go in the correct spot. So you can either make a mental note or just write it down and you don't have to worry about forgetting what it is. All right, so next step is to loosen the tensioner. So I'll show you where it is. It's just on the bottom there. I'll get my Mickey Mouse finger and it's that bolt there. That's a 14mm, and underneath it there's a 12mm that you can move this up and down. It has to go down because it's causing the tension now, but that's a 14mm, so you just want to crack it. You don't want to take it off. And I'll just pause and I'll show you where the bottom one is. So this is underneath the car, and you can see the 14mm there. That's the 14, and the tensioner bolt is that one there. That one there. So you undo it, and then it will drop it down. Yeah, it'll drop it down, loosen tension, and we can take the belt off. So I'll just do that quickly, and I'll show you how it is. All right, so that's the belt off, and this is the condition of mine. Mine's still pretty brand new, so I can reuse mine. There's no cracks. You always just want to double check your belts that there's no cracks or anything. Mine's in perfect condition, so I can reuse this. So let's remove tension, and I'll put that aside. Also, take a photo of how the belt is before because you have to put it back the same way, and it's just easier with a reference guide. All right, so this is from underneath the car. So there's going to be a few clips for the alternator wiring. You want to undo these to create some slack because we're going to be bringing the alternator up, so we need more room for when it's going to drop basically, and it's going to give you more breathing room and it's easier to bring up that alternator. So first we're gonna undo that clip, and there's the mounting bracket for the alternator. So undo all of that, and then I'll flip it to the top. So there's gonna be this mounting bolt here. It's pretty long. It's a 14mm, and I'll just show you where in the engine bay it is. So you can see the alternator in the bottom left hand corner, and that bolt I'm talking about is that one there. It's that one. So let me just take that out and I'll show you how long it is. So this is the bolt that comes out, and it goes through here like this. So that's the top mounted one, and then you can see there's one on the bottom. So there's only two. Pretty sure there's only two. Yes, there's only two. So there's that one, and there's that bottom one. Okay, this next step is going to be hard to record, but basically this is the orientation. No, this is the orientation how it's facing at the moment. So it's like that. So that's the front of the motor, as you can see. That's the front of the motor. This is the back. So we'll just remove this one, and there's only one holding it there. And there's this plug here. That's a 10mm. Pretty sure it's a 10mm. And there's this plug. So I've got 1, 2, 3. I'll remove that. It's a bit of fiddling. So I'll come back and it'll be removed. Okay guys, it's been a few days because I've been busy with work and such. So I haven't had time to work on the car. But it's my weekend now, and I've finally gone back to it. And as you can see, I have removed my alternator. So this is the stock one, and that's the replacement one. So I'll go over and explain what I had to do. So on the back, there's two bolts on the Cima. There is the here, you can see the threads there. There's one there and one there. One of them is the ground. It's a 10mm bolt, so you're going to need to put that on. And the other one is a harness bracket that holds on the cable. That one, previous owners in the Cima group have advised not to put that one back on because that one's really annoying to get to. And the easiest way to gain access to the bolt is laying down on the ground and facing up with your back on the floor, basically. So you don't have to remove it. Sorry, you do have to remove that. The alternator will drop, because if you don't remove that bracket, the alternator will not drop. So you got to remove the ground. There's going to be the plug, and there's a 12mm power nut as well. So it's just 1, 2, 3 when you put it back on. But if you have the stock alternator, which I have, you're going to have a fourth one, which is that for that bracket. So I'll show you some tips and stuff of what I can do to make it easier. So there's this oil pressure sensor cable, and you can see the sensor right there. It just connects there. You just want to remove that. It's going to create more slack for the alternator cable. And then there's, let me just zoom in here. You can see, yeah, you can see that bracket there. That's the bracket that I was talking about. And you can see there's the ground cable. So that's the ground that you need for the back of the alternator. And just there is the 10mm for the mounting bracket for that wire harness, but you do not need to put that back in. And I'll quickly show you that really long bolt where it slides into. So remember this bolt for the alternator? So this one, it just goes, oh sorry. Can you see that? Yep. So it goes in there and it holds it there, and you just tighten it. And of course it has thread for the back of the alternator, and it just connects. So basically we're just going to be reinstalling it, putting this back on, and there's the plug. I just pushed it on the side, so you can do that as well. Yeah, so I'll quickly just reinstall the alternator. Alright, so remember that bracket I told you was on a harness, and that's at 10mm. So it'll be stuck there, and the way to get it out is just get a flathead, just shove it in there, crack it, and it will drop. So because you don't need to put this back on, I'm not going to put it on. And as light as it is, it's a bit of weight reduction, and yeah, I'm not going to put it on. It's up to you if you want to do want to put it back on for that factory fitment, but for me, I'm not going to do it. Okay, so there's going with this bracket which holds down the bottom of the alternator. It's got a little notch on the right hand side, and it just connects to the, so it's going to bolt up. You can see that hole there. It's going to bolt up to that one there, and there's a hole in the alternator, and that hole there is going to bolt up to that one. So let me just pause, and that's how it should look all tightened up. So it connects there, and then with this oil pressure sensor, that clip there goes into there, so it just goes into there. But first I need to plug in my 2-pin on the alternator, so I'll just do that quickly. So I've clipped that in, put in the oil pressure sensor, and just to make it OEM, I just use a cable tie because I snapped the original one. And I plugged in my 2-pin sensor. I plug it into the alternator. I'm just gonna double check everything's tightened. So remember when I told you to take a photo of when you work on your car to know the alignments of certain parts, how everything bolts up in your brackets or fan belts? So this is one of those examples where, how I mentioned, take a photo of how everything hooks up, how everything aligns. That way, when you put everything back together, it makes it easier. So now we're going to put my belt on. I took a photo, so I've got a reference guide, but please just make sure you take a photo so you know exactly how it fits. So I'm going to quickly put the fan belt on, and I'll just come back. So that's how the belt orientation is. I just got to put the tensioner on, and I'll show you how it looks. I just noticed something, that when I was doing the tensioner, like, it is getting tight, but this pulley here is for the fan, and when I'm tightening it, it's bringing that up, but it's tightening it, and it's gonna put force down there. And when I do my fan, it's not gonna be straight because the bottom of this one is getting pushed out. So you can see here. So what I'm gonna do is I've got to loosen it. I'm gonna tighten my fan, then I'm gonna go back down and then tighten it again to make sure the tension's right. And I'll show you the type of tension that you want. So let me just undo it, put my fan on, and I'll show you the tension. So that's the fan on. I've tightened all 4 bolts, so it wasn't lopsided, so it's straight. So you can see it's been straight. So I did the tensioner from the bottom on the garage floor. I tightened it up, and then once I was happy with the tension, then I tightened that 14mm bolt. You can just see that's that one there. And this is the type of tension that you want. You want it to like bounce back, but also see that little movement? You can just see it. You want it tight enough. So that's the type of tension that you want. And before we make the engine bay pretty and put the covers on strop bar, you just want to connect the batteries, turn the car on, and make sure it all works. So let's do that now. Alright, so before I'm going to connect the battery to the car, I just want to test it out with my multimeter. So I'm just going to test the positive and the negative, just to make sure that the battery health is fine and I don't need to charge it up. So let's just do that quickly. So I've got negative, positive, 12.82. So that's a really healthy battery, which is good. So now I'll just connect it up quickly. Alright, so everything's hooked up correctly. So all we're gonna do now is do a test run. Engine bay does look ugly, but first I want to make sure it works well. Everything's running. The belts are the correct tension. There's no check battery light or anything, and generally the engine sounds healthy. So let's start it. Lights are on, which is always a good sign. Okay, normal startup procedure. That started good. healthy. We're just gonna check out the belts, make sure they're aligned correctly and they're not slipping. Let me just zoom in. So they're straight. The fan is straight as well. Yep. Sounds really healthy. It sounds normal. Before, when my alternator died, there was a really high pitch. Well, we're just gonna check the alternator, do a few tests, and see how it is. So I'm just gonna put it on under load, put some lights on, and we'll go from there. Just wait 1 second. So put the lights on, let's put the fogs on. Just a little bit of load there. Alright, let me just put this tripod down here. So, can you see that? Yeah. So, we're going to go negative and positive. Negative, positive. No, it's not the... That's on DC now, okay, direct current. So negative, positive. It's running 14.55, which is really healthy. When I did the test before, I think it was at like 11. So that's a really healthy alternator. So now we're just gonna put everything back together, make the engine bay pretty, and I can do a test drive, see how it runs. But that sounds like how it normally does. So let's just go to the dash really quickly and see how it is. So I just got my high beams on. It's in park, obviously. My brake light, no, not brake light, that's handbrake. And I've got my up seatbelt on. That's the doors. But yeah, everything is perfect. Like it's running back to normal. It was a bit finicky, that alternator, but that's basically how you do it. So once that's done and you're happy how it's running and how it sounds, like you would able to hear an audible difference, like a tone, but everything sounds fine. Like it's a healthy engine, that fan is straight, the belts are straight, everything's on the screws. You just want to make sure you have enough tension. If you don't have enough tension, it's going to bring out some battery warning lights to say that some issue with your charging system, but that's how you want it. But thanks again guys, and I'll see you in the next video.